I'm Bram Cohen. I am the inventor of BitTorrent, and I am founder and chief scientist at BitTorrent Incorporated. I personally have been working on live peer-to-peer streaming for the last 2 years, which is of course primarily for, if not entirely, for video. And there's a lot of really interesting engineering problems behind that. The biggest ones are getting the load to be 99%, because when you've got millions of people watching something, you want almost none of the content to be coming directly from the original servers. And the other one is really getting the latency down. You want, I'm shooting for around a 5-second latency. So 5 seconds after the video is recorded, it's being displayed on everyone's screens. And it's a very interesting and difficult and, shall we say, rewarding engineering problem that I've been working on for the last 2 years, trying to get that delay down. And I've got what is really the only good solution for it. It's almost ready for widespread deployment now. Several services for doing live streaming right now, they are not peer-to-peer. They don't involve any peer-to-peer technology, because it's very difficult to get these kind of lousy peer-to-peer resources to do something well enough to be worth using. And so I've got technology that they could potentially use in order to dramatically reduce costs to them, because they spend a huge amount of money on bandwidth, and possibly make it so they could launch new services and things like that that they can't afford to currently. The CDNs really don't like offering live solutions. It's a huge engineering challenge for them. You can't just take a CDN that was designed just for pushing out lots of data and switch it over to live. It adds all sorts of new requirements to the whole thing, and it's a huge headache and a relatively small part of the market for CDNs and what they're selling, but very central to a number of businesses in terms of what they're providing to their users. So we have over 80 million active users of our client software. Through our entire history, our user base has always been growing very, very rapidly in order to have gotten to that size. And so the whole company really now is focused around our relationships with consumers, and our strategy going forward for content is to help help content creators reach our audience of users directly. But we really want to do it on terms that make sense online, instead of just taking an old media model and trying to just copy it over verbatim with zero changes whatsoever, which is kind of what our old content deals required, to online, which is really not a winning formula. We're trying to figure out something that really works in the new media world. The main thing holding back video online, I think, is people's home connection speeds, that they're really not what they should be, and that they're not progressing as fast as they should, at least in the United States. People's home net connections in the United States are much, much less than they are overseas, and it's really very frustrating. And people can say, well, everything's geographically set up differently in the United States, and that's sort of true in rural areas. So yeah, people in Japan have 1,000 times as fast as a net connection here, although it's all like in cities that are very close together, which isn't true in the United States, except in New York and Chicago and San Francisco and Miami and a whole bunch of other places which are perfectly set up to getting very, very fast internet for everybody. And it's just not happening for a variety of reasons, and that's very frustrating.